Well, hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. I am your host, DBJ. And today we are going to take yet another look at a speculative fiction in our media, whether it's a movie or television series. I happen to be very bullish about these television series. I don't know why I watch so much television. But anyway, we're going to take a look at The Prisoner on this Friday. Yes, we're going to take a look at that. And within the context of our tabletop role-playing experience. And you got it. Yeah. Now there have been a number of iterations of The Prisoner television series, and I remember watching The Prisoner on PBS television here in the States. And according to The Prisoner, it was aired in like 67, 68. So it definitely was before I was born. I was born in 1970, but I remember watching it on PBS, and or at least it had to have been at that time. This is back in the day. For your young folks, I remember getting up from the couch and having to mess with the rabbit ears. I had to switch between like UHF and VHF, and getting yelled at for clicking the button on the television too fast when the televisions were like the size of refrigerators, seemingly. Anyway, maybe a big old ice box or something like that. But The Prisoner was was a British television series, and although it did have different iterations, it always revolved around a secret agent, and the secret agent, we're not really sure about the entire background of this agent, ends up getting imprisoned on this island utopia of sorts, along with a cast of very strange and suspicious other individuals who may or may not have been in the exact same type of line of work of being a spy or assassin, mercenary, a government agent, and that kind of thing. And our main character is given a designation of number 6. And throughout the series, of course, our main character is like, don't give me the number 6. I'm a person. I'm a real human being. And throughout the Prisoner, apparently this idyllic location is designed to disorient our main character and try to obtain some sort of information from our main character. And I dare say this was maybe the beginning of like the surrealism, long form kind of content. I'm not exactly certain when. I mean, I'm sure this storytelling has been done plenty of times, but I'm not exactly certain. Like what am I trying to say? When the public, I guess you would say, the public media really embraced this kind of storytelling, where you're being given a premise, and the mystery, it's kind of a mystery boxing as well, where we're not shown and not told directly what the series is about. And we are given hints, whether there's something in the background or phrases that the characters say. And some of the dialogue is actually far more like surreal, Kafka-esque, Orwellian, where they're not necessarily speaking to each other, but they're also speaking to the audience as well, to give us a clue as to question authority, or question ourselves, or question our reality, and to try to get the public to think about things as well as the characters. So sometimes the characters don't come across as people, they come across as ideals, or they come across as living motivations or living conundrums, as it were, just for the sole purpose of being challenged, and then challenging our premises about how we live in our own world. And so I think the Prisoner, mind you, was also kind of fun too, right? Like The Prisoner was kind of one of those television shows where you're always like, the water cooler show, where you're trying to figure out, did that thing in the background really mean something, or was it a set designer that just thought they'd have some fun, right? Yeah, Dead Man says The Prisoner was a TV series from 1967 to 68 with an updated reboot in 2009. There was also a movie called Prisoners from 2013. Yeah, yeah. Uh-oh, reboot. Yeah. Oh. Prisoner with the number 6. Why does that remind me now of Vi from Arcane? Yes, because Arcane, brilliant animated series. Oh, we got to put that down there. Um, Vi, the V1, the number 6, tattooed on her above one of her eyes or something like that on her face. Yep, yep, absolutely. Which, visually speaking and storytelling wise, I think today has a better sensibility, but something similar. Yeah, I said the public went to lynch Patrick McGowan after he wrote an ending that didn't make it. He said, "Yeah, this was." I have to agree. Like, this reminds me of the is it Twin Peaks? I remember. I remember I mentioned it the other day. It reminds me of Twin Peaks. That was very much like that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's it. Yep. Um, where you have one or a few main characters that are eyes and ears as the person that's absorbing the story, and then all the other cast of characters and locations are like this surreal. You never know if it's a dream sequence or a flashback, and even the characters that are air quotes real don't act real. Like, you might have a set of twins that are always staring off into space. You might have an old lady with like a foul mouth. You've got some, weird guy that, I don't know, collects teddy bears or something. Like, and you end up having these like weird, very strange, surreal type of storytelling. And I'm sure the creators were like, in their own heads, they know what's going on. And there's a difficulty in trying to translate that to tabletop role playing games, but um internal consistency is really what it's about. And when some of these surreal stories, they try to end the surreal story, they have to like narratively work their way back out of a mystery box they back themselves into, and it can be kind of difficult, right? Because you almost scratch your head like, is this brilliance or were they just on drugs? Now, according to the writer, according to Wikipedia, sorry, um, the original writer of Prisoner claims that it was about, this is during the 60s, and it was about like Cold War-ish fears that were cropping up, as well as individuality versus collectivism, and how much of your own personality should be subsided in your own freedom for the will and good of the people, versus individualism, which may not be working for the good of the whole, but allows you to freely choose the path that you wish for your future or something like that. And sometimes that can rub people the wrong way, especially depending on what era you're living in. Like here in the States, we are completely obsessed with individualism, and even the notion of collectivism sometimes rubs people the wrong way, as an expectation of behavior. And so when watching a show like this, it's like, yeah, you're rooting for like number 6, and you may not understand why this character is going along with uh, whatever is happening in the background. Now, I will say, the difficult part, especially if you want to use this kind of surrealism in a tabletop game, is internal consistency. And what I mean by that is, the players may not understand what's going on, but you need to understand what's going on, and as the game master. And that's a lot of weight to put on your shoulders, when honestly you should really like put that weight on the other players in your group. Now, to one way to offset the mental load is to give your players a rather strange and, dare I say, maze-like questions. have them answer those questions, and then incorporate it into your world. So what I mean by that is like have them come up with like say names or traits or behaviors or physical looks of NPCs, and then bring that together, but then mix it up. So you might take a name from player one, a physical appearance from player two, and a personality from player three, and then put them together. And you may not even tell them what kind of game you're playing. Like, is it fantasy? Here on this channel, we're talking about science fiction, but it may be something like that. And then mix it up. Like, it would be very strange for modern day spies and mercenaries to see maybe an NPC walking around in like ancient plate armor, and this character loves to reenact, you know, his own fictionalized version of being a knight in medieval Europe or something. And it's like, why is this person here? They're like, well, they're just interested in it, and they're very strange, right? You know, and so that's one way to do it, like offset the mental load. Also, when it comes to secrets and plots and red herrings and such, again, if you offset the mental load onto your player characters and they come up with like the air quotes the answer to the problem, but then you put it into a pot and stir it up into some kind of concoction that even that original player doesn't quite recognize what's going on, it'd be kind of cool. Yeah, member of the Shice Squad says, I recall the writers trying to distance themselves from the notion that the village is run by the British government. It was supposed to be a mystery, but always seemed like it had to be MI6. Yep. That's also that's also a challenge when you're trying to like you, what's today we call it like it's the not government kind of thing, and you're trying to make parallels to tell a story, but really your players are like, isn't this like, you know, like the British government? Isn't this like the French government? Isn't it, you know, the CIA? And you're busy trying to say, no, it's not. It's really something else. And they're going like, well, it smells like it. It sounds like it. And they act like it. Come on, let us know. It really is it, isn't it? And so yeah, sometimes it's very difficult. It's the fantasy equivalent of making not orcs. You know, yeah, they're beast people with you know, tusked teeth, and they are barbaric and they run around in hordes, and everyone's like, you mean orcs? And like, well, they're not orcs. And you're like, well, I mean, let's be real, they're orcs. You know, and it's very difficult to break out of a sometimes we can take a trope and fall into such a trope that we're like, oh man, damn it, I try so hard to get out of the trope, it just turns into yet another trope. Yeah, the notorious number two runs the village, and number two kept changing. Now, one really cool aspect of doing something like that is like players that often can't players that cannot often come to your game could be run by different players, and maybe they physically are different individuals, but they're playing the same character, so they actually have two different physical appearances. Let's say there's a young lady in your group and then a young man in your group, but they both can't be there at the same time, and they both play the same character, and the character's gender keeps changing, but they're playing the same person, so they're actually literally the same person, which would be kind of funny and cool in a way to like embrace the surreal dreamlike aspect of, wait a minute, wasn't your you know, your dowager's hump on the left side of your body? No, it was on the right side. Going talk about a Mel Brooks movie. Drew says, I designed my own system to not need a GM, thus sharing the mental load is basically the default I'm going for. And we see that a lot, especially, of course, in indie games, but a lot more embraced in wider, more popular games. Is like, listen, you're just because you're the game master, don't accept all that mental load on your shoulders. That's a myth. You really don't need to do that. Getting your players together and go, listen, I didn't make up the shadow league that your character wants to be part of. You do it. That way you get investment. And I think A, not having to do all the groundwork, and B, getting your players invested in the world is far better than having to create something, dropping a tome that you wrote and put up on what is it? Obsidian or something like that, and it's got like 500 pages. Nobody's going to read that. It's unfortunate, but no one's going to read it unless you become a very famous novelist, and uh, and uh, and that way your players are not rolling their eyes or ignoring what's happening because they're on their phone. At least they're going, "Ooh, the shadow agency's here." Ooh, and now they know. Now they tune in, and especially if you incorporate the shadow agency and another player gets invested in that same thing, then that player is invested not just in the game, they're invested in the other player's ability to get into the game. So, yep, it makes like a web instead of a spoke. Uh, Shai says the writer said our actors were so frightfully English, people just assumed it was the British government. He said he wanted to find more actors with foreign accents. That can be a limitation too. Sometimes when it comes to great storytelling, sometimes it's just a limitation, right? Like, oh, we only had enough money to film it in this park or building, and then people assume an identity that the creator wasn't going for, but they only had a limited amount of resources, and it just happened that way. Yeah, like the prisoner's extremely comes across as extremely British, if that makes sense. Where I'm sure the creator, if they had much more money, probably would have loved to sprinkle in people from around the world with different accents and cultures and kind of like body shapes and physicality that would be in the show. And then that way it would remove it from being an English British show into a global show where maybe different agencies and individuals from around the world are there, and that way we don't have to pin down exactly what was going on, right? um maybe I want to change my background a little bit because it should be a little bit darker because it is the prisoner. So um one one thing that I think we can steal an homage to for tabletop role playing games is the idea of being a prisoner itself, and um, a little bit of what my character's about story. I don't mean to go there. I remember playing the diceless role playing game Amber, and we wanted to try. We My friends and I, when we were very young, we were polygamists. We would find a new game in the gaming store, buy it if it looked cool, and we would just keep playing different games over and over again. I played so many games, like with Drew here, Slay Industries and GURPS and Immortal, and I, it could go on and on and on. Champions and Marvel superhero. I mean, we played superhero games, all of them, the various iterations of DC and Marvel and Fusion and yeah. I hear you, shits or shit lords. I hear you. Now, um, in our Amber game, because we needed to learn the rules. We started all of our characters out in prison. If you're unfamiliar with the story about Amber and the spiral and having to walk, anyway, so our characters started out in prison, and we were feeling out our characters' abilities in prison. And sometimes there's some this can go wrong easily, but there is a trope within our own tabletop role playing community about putting characters in, starting them in, or letting them end in prison. And the idea of being a prisoner somewhere, first of all, prison is like a dungeon. You have a limited liminal space. So the players can only go so many places. They can only investigate so many rooms. You have bounded I don't want to say bounded accuracy. You have bounded space like a dungeon, and that's good. Because that way, it's easier to track what the players can do and where they can go. Um, yeah, yeah. The party meets in a prison. They say this is a total cliche. That's exactly. Um, I should go get my immortal game. Matter of fact, you know what I might do? I might step away from this camera and go get my immortal game. Maybe pull out my Slay Industries or something like that. A bunch of old 80s mid to mid 90s games, maybe early 2000s role playing games. Yeah, Immortal. Yeah. Um, not that one, but so the party meeting in a prison is very cliche. I remember playing I maybe a good dozen or more fantasy games where we all made characters, and then we just told the dungeon master was just like, all right, you tell me why your character is in prison. And I was playing like a paladin monk combination. The yeah, the prison is society itself. Yeah. Yeah. Now, sorry, side note, because I know you're distracting me. The Immortal game was based on was it was the not Highlander role playing game. It very much was the not Highlander game, but we all knew that's what it was based off of. Yeah, yeah. I am immortal. I have inside me blood of kings. Yeah, I have no rivals. No man can be my equal. Yeah, YouTube, don't shut me down. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Prison is society itself. Yeah, very much so. And very much the show The Prisoner was talking about that. Like when we live our lives, um how much influence, I mean, how much importance is our individuality to ourselves, and then how much of ourselves do we give over to a government, and how much do we trust that government, and so on and so forth. And more often than not, we tend to not trust governments, right? Because it's very easy for that absolute power to corrupt absolutely. But society still needs to operate. We still need, the sexy part is us raising our fist to the man and wanting to take down the system. But nobody wants to clean streets and the unsexy part of a society is treating each other kindly and having clean streets and sewer systems and running water and electricity and a monetary system that doesn't fluctuate too greatly and not having a high unemployment. And there's a legal system that happens to give both justice and be fair, but also operate in a method that's swift enough. All that stuff is the unsexy part of a society that the rebels who have like the spray painted t-shirts and the bandanas on their face throwing like Molotov cocktails and running away from tear gas don't think about. And so yeah, there is a bit of like collectivism that must be done where we all agree, like, listen, it benefits all of us to have clean water, so maybe we should do that. Sorry there, Michigan, that state up north here from Columbus, Ohio, in the Ohio Valley. Like, yeah, like there's a reason why bureaucracies exist. That's to keep clean water. Sometimes they can't even do that. Yeah, they can't even do that. All the characters in the village being fakes planted there to manipulate them was part of the message. Yep. For those who don't know this, again, the premise was we have our main character, number 6, who they keep beating in his head that he's number 6, and he's like, I'm not number 6, I'm an individual. And a eclectic cast of characters are around him that either try to get information from him or he questions them. And this idyllic prison, it's like a mansion with tended grass. It's very much a utopian prison, but he wants to get the hell out. Like no matter how well he's fed and groomed and it looks and the air smells like jasmine, it's still a prison he can't leave. And so he's never sure who are the guards because they're all looking at each other and you never know. And that's the danger of like with thank you very much for bringing up something, because I was going to say characters meeting in the prison and having to escape a prison is a bit of a trope in tabletop role playing. Side note, don't keep characters trapped in prisons without their shit. Don't do that in a game. If you're going to start the game out that way, let them kind of get out pretty easily, get their crap, and let them become the embodiment of the character they created. Because you really don't want to do that unless, like in our group, we actually did that. We actually chose to imprison ourselves and built our characters by finding things within the prison. So for example, we were playing our characters who were like, they were like maybe like 40% finished. And we would find objects and people and locations in the prison, and whoever wanted to step forward first to get that thing, that became on their character sheet. So for example, like someone would find lockpicks and we're like, oh, we could open up the locks to get other prisoners out of the prison and lock people in and blah blah, or set of keys. And so someone would get that and they're like, okay, well, I'm taking that, therefore I want to become like a thief or a rogue. And then someone else would find like a shiv or a handmade weapon or something, like a pipe with like tape wrapped around it. Like, well, I'm going to take that, so I'm going to be fighter like. And we kind of did, it was fantasy gaming, but we kind of took on those roles and built our characters along the way. It's kind of fun to do that. Yeah, let them start with a shiv they carved from a bone in a dungeon. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and Shai says they never do say what information they want out of them beyond why did you resign? Exactly. And I think maybe not mentioned so much during that the 60s, but there's we military, black ops, spycraft, all that kind of stuff. There's training those individuals, but there's very rarely a retirement plan for those individuals. When I was very deep into my martial arts career, I had a martial arts instructor who was very bullish about the uh, the embracing the samurai style culture, in the sense that learning martial arts was very aggressive, right? It's about harnessing the aggression side of you. But he was very much like, listen, you need to learn the peaceful arts as well. And I remember learning first aid, um, CPR. He was very much wanted to push people into volunteerism. The idea that before and after our training, we would clean the mats and the floor as a like a meditative kind of thing, where we would like we'd run across the floor with like Swiffers and things like that, and it was a way to balance the aggression and the aggression with the peace. And a lot of times in military, and those who are faced with doing harsh and dangerous and things that harm the soul, uh, there's no outlet for that. And I feel like the prisoner number 6 may have quit just simply because he didn't want to lie and cheat and murder and kill. And you see a lot of death, and it's like, well, hey, listen, I just don't want to do this anymore. And unfortunately, when you have like governments and secrets and things like that, the simple answer of I'm actually mentally tired of doing this thing doesn't always compute. To them, they're just like, well, why do you want to quit? And it's like, well, I don't want to kill people anymore. But why? Yeah, but that's not the answer. But why? But why? But why? So I get that. Now, um, side note, on this channel, I have talked about, let's see if I can go here, Amazon. The Doug Burton, the individual that there we go. Doug Burton, the individual who wrote this book, not The Heroine's Journey, Heroine's Labyrinth. There we go. Douglas Burton. This individual's book has just come out, and yes, I am segueing very hard here. The book came out, and funny thing is, my name is in the book. so yeah, this book came out, and I did an interview with the individual who wrote this. It's on the channel somewhere out there. The Heroine's Labyrinth. I put it in for a pre-order, and so I'm very happy to be part of it. But I'm bringing this up. I know, hard segue. I'm bringing this up because our character in The Prisoner, number 6, has something essentially he has a sacred fire, and he's in this labyrinthine prison. Now, the labyrinth isn't necessarily physical. It's a social labyrinth. He doesn't know who he can trust, who he can talk to, needs to keep secrets from to himself, doesn't want to release those secrets, but is trying to get secrets out of other people who talk to him in riddles and things of that nature. And so in this storytelling of the heroine's labyrinth, there's this idea that the heroine, heroine, it sounds like heroin, like drugs. No, the heroine, it has a sacred fire that the masked minotaur, which in The Prisoner there's plenty of masked minotaurs, including sometimes the number 2 and the number 1, which is kind of never revealed in the series, that they're trying to capture his sacred fire. And that sacred fire is, why did he resign? And we see this this framework done in a lot of stories where our main character maybe lost their memory, or they are transported to some distant place, like in a prison, and they're trying to extract out of our main characters, our heroes, something that is important to everyone else. For example, maybe our main character was a criminal, part of a criminal organization, and that criminal organization is trying to find money that was stolen, or they want to know, did they tell the police anything, or are they loyal to the current regime when the head honcho gets assassinated and the young upstart takes over, and they're like, are you still loyal to my dad? Because you need to be loyal to me. And of course they're an asshole, and our main character has to do something, and then maybe that character even gets out of prison. So that kind of stuff. So yeah. But anyway, I'm proud that my name will be in the credits of in the book. I don't know what he's going to say and how he's going to say it, but it's kind of fun. Drew says, I also pre-ordered it. Still reading John Truby's Anatomy of Genre. Hope I will get through that before Labyrinth arrives. Now, I'm currently not in a reading. I used to. It's funny because I used to read books because I wanted to get to the next book. So I challenged myself to read a book first to get to the next book. Kind of like a hiking, jogging expedition. Like, I'm going to go through this path because I want to graduate up to the next one. I used to do that a lot too. So yeah, player characters, the idea of players having the sacred fire taken from them makes it very personal. And I think that's a really cool thing to do in tabletop role-playing games, where when you're, instead of the players always having to go out to defeat the evil in a hero's journey, instead, in a prisoner or confined location kind of story, maybe the enemy wants to get something from the players themselves. And you could do that very, very bluntly, like maybe a character has a psychic power, or has healing, or they are a great martial artist, or they are a fast talker, or they have some other kind of skills, whatever's on a character sheet, and the enemy just wants to take that from them. Hey, badass warrior, I want you to lead my army. And the PC's like, I'm not doing that. Like, I don't need to bring myself to your standards. You got to rise up to mine. And if the orc horde is like, in fantasy gaming, the orc horde's like, no, you're going to lead my army whether you like it or not, which sounds like a very odd plot, but it does make the player characters feel special when someone else wants something from them. Also, listen, prisons are kind of fun because you can throw a lot of red shirts in there, and we'll talk about red shirts as in science fiction as a storytelling trope, because there's a good reason for having red shirts, which is, for long story short, a red shirt is just an unnamed NPC we get to beat ass on to prove dangers and storytelling techniques and threats to our main characters. So red shirts always get assassinated, they get burned, they get caught in traps, they get mind control, they disappear and get zapped with disintegration rays. It's just a very blunt, easy way to show to our player characters an example of the dangers ahead of them, and some of the maybe it's difficult to describe to our players what the heck is going on. So yeah, Drew said, can I quote you? Yeah, prisons are kind of fun. Yep. Yeah, red shirts are absolutely jobbers, right? Those are, if anybody who used to watch wrestling or still watches wrestling, you always had jobbers, these unnamed people who didn't really even have any intro music, and they always wore like solid color shorts, and they and they were just jobbers. They're just there to make the PCs look like badasses. And prisons let us do that, right? You put up, it's an easy way to throw a bunch of assholes into a large group, let the PCs beat on them, do a whole bunch of throat punching, and let them feel good. And sometimes in tabletop role-playing games, we underserve Yeah, sometimes it was underserved that we allow the players to win. I know that sounds strange-ish, but sometimes letting the players just beat ass sometimes is really good. Now in The Prisoner, like Anon says, all they wanted was for them to comply. And sometimes, okay, we can relate that to our reality today. For example, um, do I want to bring up something that's actually real? Okay, yeah, you know what? I will. Yeah. and, Anon says all they wanted was for them to comply. The information was irrelevant, and this is the unfortunate downfall of the individual versus the collectivism. Because what ends up happening is someone in the community says to everyone else, "Hey, can we do this thing?" And no one wants to comply, and then the issue isn't about doing the thing, it's about compliance and getting people to do the thing you told them to do in the first place, whether it was good for them or not. Like, for example, here in the States, we have a whole chunk of the United States that to this day hated the very act of having to wear face masks because of illness. And uh, someone telling them you need to wear a face mask made them dig even deeper to not wearing face masks. Now, it didn't matter. It then went from it didn't matter what the purpose was for wearing a face mask. It came to the point of, don't tell me I need to do this thing. Don't tell me you're going to make me do this thing. I'm not going to do it. Fold arms, pout mouth, no. And unfortunately, the people were saying you better wear them. The face masking didn't matter. That actually became a subset of a thing of, you need to do what we're telling you to do or else. And so, yes, in The Prisoner, they kept asking him, like, why did you resign? It didn't really matter why he was resigning. It was you need to tell us, and we're going to psychologically beat you down till you agree that anything we want from you, the information or any other behaviors we want from you, you're going to tell them. Yeah, I felt like a ninja wearing a face mask. Good times. Yeah. I mean, it was pretty ridiculous. It was at to the point where it's like, people were just like, freedom, and you can't tell me what to do. And I'm going, yes, but freedom also means that I can ask you to do a thing, and then you have the freedom to choose to do the thing or not do the thing, but then you can't abide by the thing. Like, if my business says you must wear a mask to come into it, you have the freedom to not come in, not come in and make a big deal about it. How about just not coming into my business? I just people are so stupid. But anyway, yeah, I miss wearing my Star Wars masks. I had my Black Panther mask. I had a Star Wars masks. Of course, I had my Ohio State masks in here, Ohio. Some of them were pretty cool. I also had my tweed leather mask. Had a little patch of leather. It kind of went with it, and it was anyway. It was really cool. It was really cool. It was like a very high end mask, which I still have. So, other aspects of The Prisoner and using that as a trope is that players may need to infiltrate a prison, and of course, when you infiltrate a prison, you know, yeah, massive algorithm's favorite topic. Yeah, yeah, shitlords is warning me. Oh shit, yeah, because that was for a while there. You could really get dinged for even talking about it. I wonder if the algorithm is still up, or did they get rid of it? Or is it just stacking algorithms without deleting the old algorithms? I don't know. Yeah, I might get dinged for it, but whatever. I don't. This channel's so small, it doesn't matter. Um, Players having to sneak into a prison is kind of cool because, of course, they're going to have to. You've got your classic prison tropes, and mind you, the prisoner is not necessarily a traditional prison in terms of like bars and concrete and things of that nature. The prisoner was trapped in a idyllic setting with like mountains on three sides and the ocean, and maybe beautiful music and the scent of jasmine, like I said before. There may be like valets and maids hanging around, and you could really twist up the energy of this idyllic prison by having multiple buildings and locations within the prison, and still the players cannot leave. And listen, if you tell players they can't leave a place, they are going to pitch a fit, which is kind of cool. You can use that. You can use that as a like a meta motivation to get that emotional pull, that emotional draw to escape out of your players, that feeds into the characters. Even if the characters are unperturbed about where they are, the players are chomping at the bit, and maybe that will start to build the tension inside of the characters that are navigating this idyllic world. Um, Something else that may happen are a lot of secrets are going to be exposed or be covered up. And so, as a game master, again, to offset that mental load of having to juggle a lot of secrets, maybe get some secrets from your players pre the game in session 0, get that from them through like text messages and DMs and things like that, and then mix and match them into the game. And then when a secret is revealed, one of the players is going to go, I made that secret, yeah, that's cool, and it gets revealed. And so they feel a little bit of ownership as certain secrets are revealed, and then it gives them more clues and more keys to unlock ways to get out. What happens when they get out, I don't know. Now, another thing, like there's a television show that was called Colony, about, and it again, a high concept. Aliens come to Earth. I think it was California. It's always California because that's where they film a lot of these things, and Canada as well. But anyway, aliens come to Earth, and they erect these giant walls that separate communities. And the people that live in these separated communities by these giant walls created established by the aliens are treated differently. And periodically, humans are beamed up to the starships that are in our atmosphere, taken to the aliens, and no one knows what happens. And the whole show, Colony, is similar to this show Prisoner, because a lot of times we see this storytelling done over and over again, which is actually a good idea to do it, is that these themes come back over and over again, and that is themes of classism, status, um, um, uh, treating people in different communities differently, and seeing how they cultivate their lifestyle based on scarcity versus abundance. And of course, our characters breaking out of the chains of being kept in their own location and trying to find ways to sneak to the other side of the walls in the colony to find out how other people are being treated. While the prisoner doesn't go that far, simply probably because of money and time and access to things, the prisoner is treated differently by different individuals in the show, if I remember correctly. And let's remember how many episodes were in this show. There's a lot of characters, a ton of characters. Crew. It's not telling me. This is Wikipedia. Did not know that. I didn't know that it wouldn't tell me that. So, oops, maybe I shouldn't have brought that up. But anyway, throughout the number of episodes, we do get this idea that like maybe some of the characters may have been government agents. Some of the characters are just there to add barriers for our main character, number 6, to navigate his way around this idyllic mansion garden type setting. Some people are just there to excuse me. I apologize. I caught something, I think. Even in the Wikipedia article, not that Wikipedia is always accurate, but they even talk about like a script for a thing called Danger Man, and other aspects like this, where you have an individual running around and they don't know who to trust. And what some aspects of the storytelling could be player characters maybe harming or not trusting an NPC that maybe they should have and regretting it later. Shay said it only had 17 episodes. Okay, there we go. Yeah, only 17. Yep. Um, yeah, remember Many Happy Returns, the episode where the village is abandoned and he escapes on a raft? I barely remember that. It's been a long time since I've seen it. It's been a long time. TA says, interesting thing about Colony is that they never showed if the entrapment really was an alien invasion or some group of humans masquerading as aliens to demoralize humans from fighting back. Yeah, they never did. I like the idea of not explaining it. I know that rubs people the wrong way when you have some of these high concepts and you never really explain what's going on. Like we talked about Flash Forward yesterday, how everyone passes out for 137 seconds. And in the mystery box, a guy has a ring where he's the only one that doesn't pass out from the flash forward event, and it's like it feels very violating to have one person walking around a bunch of unconscious people. But it was like, well, why? Well, what was the point of that? And they never explained it. They never did. Deadman says, and there was the series, The Colony on the Discovery Channel. It was reality TV. I remember watching The Colony. They gathered a bunch of reality TV people together, and it was an experiment on how humans would survive in a post-apocalypse. It was some of it was a little ridiculous, but it was fun. I learned how I would have clean water. I really appreciated that show. Get myself some sand and charcoal. Yeah, the sand, charcoal, and tarp and stuff like that. Anyway, yep. And also going to need oranges to get rid of scurvy. I think that's something else I learned from the show or something. Yeah, trying to get all your nutrients when the apocalypse happens and it becomes post. How are we going to get our nutrients, all of our nutrients and things like that? I still haven't purchased one, but I'm very bullish on wanting to buy like a go bag or something. I'm borderline getting ready to be a prepper, I think. I don't know. I don't know. Anon says, it occurs to me now that the nonsensical ending was the only one which makes sense, as society and its assumptions completely collapsing was the only escape. Yeah, because I mean, what's the answer? Do you give up all your individuality to appease the overriding government, or do you become a complete individual and tear down the system? And the problem, like I said before, everyone loves the idea of tearing down the system because it's very emotional, but you need housing and food and clean water and flushing toilets and things like that. Yeah, shitloads of bug out bags. I mean, Amazon's got bunches of bug out bags. Let's see. You know what? I'm gonna look for that. I'm gonna just type in bug out bag. Oops, it didn't. Let's see. There we go. Bug out bag. Let's see here. Yeah. We got some pretty good examples of bug out bags. Just while I talk to you about the prisoner. So, and not to be a prepper, I did or am still thinking of moving to Florida. We talked with the wife and things like that. I mean, we're going to own our own home, so there really isn't a good reason to move to Florida except for the weather. But having a bug out bag because of storms that happen to sweep through Florida, you have to leave because of hurricanes and things like that, is actually a good idea to have one. Not necessarily because of the the collapse of civilization or something like that, but yeah. But yep. Also, I don't know. It kind of, sorry, I don't want to. I'm not going to segue out of there. In the post-apocalypse, the only food available will be the cereal types made by Post Foods. I don't know. How long do you think a unopened box of cereal will last on the shelf? Maybe a year? I mean, that you could possibly scarf down and eat, that doesn't taste like cardboard. Although, I don't know, General Mills and Post Foods, I don't know. Some people would say that most of them taste like cardboard, but whatever. TA says you have to practice your survival skills now, while failure is just the equivalent of, well, let's go home and, and call pizza takeout, and not failure equating to death. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Go ahead, man. You are so right. Because honestly, if it wasn't for the fact that there aren't very many podcasts about it, there's a lot of like those survival um, YouTube channels that many of them are fake, but there are many survival YouTube channels out there to talk about doing things and stuff. And I like just having the knowledge in my head. So that's basically it. Drew says, I prefer to reform the system, not tear it down. I guess I am influenced by this old YouTuber you never heard about called DBJ, who used to say, create, don't destroy, or something like that. I used to end it like that. Why did I stop doing that? Why did I stop? Okay, thank you very much for bringing it back. Reminding this old head Grognard to bring it back. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, make sure you can succeed when it will really count. Yeah, be it a post-apocalypse or just a hurricane, fire, tornado, etc. Yeah, that's the other thing too about, like, having a go bag, a bug out bag, isn't necessarily about the collapse of society. Maybe it's because car accident or fire or flooding or something like that. So yes, yeah. Touye says, on the masks, to be sure they work, you need to soak them in salt water and let them dry out so the fibers are also salt encrusted, as this dehydrates viral cells, destroying them. I had never, that is the very first time I ever heard anyone mention anything about that forever. Any time. Thank you, TA. I literally have never heard that before. Yeah, fake prepping channels. Who'd have thunk? Ever seen a South Miami prepper? I have not. Now, I'm not saying that prepping channels are fake. I'm saying that you know what I'm talking about. The person who's like, I'm going to build a in-ground swimming pool out in the jungle, right? It's like, come on. Sometimes all you want to do is just be taught how to light a fire, right? You know what I mean? Like, some of those prepping videos are like far above and beyond any useful information. It's just like, I'm gonna show you, I'm gonna pat myself on the back and show how badass I am. I'm gonna make a 4-car garage after I construct a $200,000 automobile out of twigs. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of weird like that. But other things. Oh, Mike Hayes says, I like to create, don't destroy. Think, well, all right. It's then, the hive mind wins. So yeah. Florida has exceptional legal protections for home ownership, but it's nearly impossible to get house insurance. Odd state of affairs. Yeah, Florida is its own thing. Isn't there a movie called The Florida Man that just came out? It was like Netflix or something like that. The Florida Man, which we have to talk about Florida as a. I'm going to write that down. We're going to have to talk about Florida as a concept, especially for you guys over across the pond. To understand what Florida is about and why it has the distinction that it does about the Florida Man being a concept. And it actually, there's a logical reason why the Florida Man exists as a governmentally. It has to do with government and free speech and things like that, or freedom of the press. I'm sorry, it has to do with freedom of the press. TA says, yeah, very many viral cells can penetrate those masks that most people are wearing, especially once you get bit wet from your breath. Yep, I'm not saying it was wrong. I'm just like, I never heard that before. Yep, viral and bacterial cells, basically tiny water balloons. Yep, especially when I've seen slow motion sneezing in dark rooms under dark light. It's pretty horrendous. Even breathing, we expel a lot of droplets and things like that. M Squared says, so I just got here. What's this dude with prisoner RPGs? Nothing. Oh geez. Okay. All right. Trying to catch up. Dead Man's like, yeah. GTA 6. It's going to be set in Florida with the Florida Man. So what we're talking about, and we're going to continue to talk about, are I have to go backwards slightly. So we're just taking the concept of high concept ideas from science fiction and modern storytelling. Mainly television shows, but movies as well, sci-fi movies. Now, not all of them are executed well. The concepts may be good, the executions are, you know, and actually that's good for us for tabletop role playing, because if no one's ever watched the movie or television show, then you can borrow from it. You can use it, make an homage for your gaming group. You can steal it for your own gaming group, and have some fun with it, and just scrape off the serial numbers and have fun. And so I just happened to pick the prisoner because a member of the Shy Squad's here and like the prisoner. I remember Prisoner and liking it. I just haven't seen it in so long. But yeah, if you take a look at let's see if I can call up the call up the thumbnail for the prisoner, you'll see I kind of stole the bike. You could kind of see it in the. There we go. Let's increase the size of this, and then go in here and stop sharing this, and then go into share this thing here. There we go. So yeah, over here you can see the prisoner, and it's a little hard to see. I try to do my best. So of course this is my simple layout, because I always try to use like a really simple layout. And there's number 6 with his little button on his jacket, and the prisoner and the bicycle, and the number 6 right up in that part right in there. Yeah, kind of cool. Anyway, that's what we're talking about. And of course the idea, like maybe the player characters, another storytelling aspect of this, before we get out of here, another storytelling aspect of this is that while the prisoner is an allegory, is very allegorical, the players themselves might be. Let me segue over to Obsidian Star, the tabletop role playing game they're working on publicly. And I have to talk to Dead Man a little bit here in a minute, because I got his message. I read the messages. I haven't responded to them. But anyway, the allegory of it could be the players might be in a space hab or a moon or a distant planet or something like that. And on the surface, it looks very idyllic until the players are being asked more and more about complying about information that they have. And in the beginning, the players might be like, oh, we're just having a conversation. And then they look around and go, oh shit, like we can't leave. And the people might be just very peaceful, like, no, you can't leave. And the more they try to physically use violence to leave, the worse it gets. So they have to learn to socially navigate this place where these random individuals that seem like they are servants or elderly or just people walking their dogs might also be badass killer assassins like the player characters, and try to figure out how do they navigate this way out of it. And the entire time they might be there's secret police, people undercover, they don't know who they can trust, and to make it very paranoid. Now, unfortunately, players can kind of turtle up if that happens too much. So you have to play a hand and get people to get out of their turtle. One way to get people out of their turtling is a technique that you can steal from Blades in the Dark, which happens to be Blades in the Dark happens to be a foundational game that has so many component parts you can steal for your own gaming experiences, which is why Blades in the Dark comes up so often from me and so many other people. And one of the things that they is incorporated in the game that John Harper did was, in order for your character to grow and heal, you must engage in your vices, which forces you to come out of your turtle and experience the rest of the world. So you may want to incorporate something in your game that is a benefit to the players for putting themselves in danger. So in the game, if you engage in your vices, literally, if you engage in your addictions like gambling and drugs, intimate encounters paid for with money and coin, getting into fights, threats and intimidation and things, because it's a heist game gang, Gangs of New York style, neo-Victorian type of game. then by engaging in those things, you actually heal your stress, which you use to do flashbacks and things like that. So it's kind of cool. Yep. I like the word tangency. We're this whole channel's about tangencies. Thank you, Anon. By the way, I did steal your name, although I had the idea in my head of a society of people who just want to be anonymous. They are Anons as well. Anon. Drew says, I still think about using Space Above and Beyond for some game eventually. Eventually, I really enjoyed that show. Too bad it also got canceled. Space Above and Beyond. That is that. If I remember correctly, if I remember correctly, was that the show that had, yes, James Morris, yes. He played an android, and was it the last episode? He ends up killing off. He literally assassinates every character in the show. If I'm and there's a battle with aliens, and you never know who the aliens are, and then at the end of the show, oh, we're gonna do that one. Space Above and Beyond. Hell, yep, that's it. Yep, that's the show. Yeah, that's it. That's it. If I remember last. Yes, Space Above and Beyond. While peace talks on the USS Saratoga go awry, the disgraced 58th are sent to retrieve POWs trapped in a crippled space APC. Several enemy space fighters attack, and the 58th takes heavy losses. It is discovered that the Chigs are only offering peace because they know Earth's military will defeat them. They land on a home planet. I think it was where they're the home planets where they're anyway, really cool, really cool. I do remember that. Right, love Blades in the Dark. The mechanics are great. Yeah. It's a lot more complicated than people give it credit for. Blades in the Dark. Anon says, in a pandemic premise episode of the show makes so much sense. Can't believe there wasn't one. Been too long for me to. Yeah. Because I never got the allegory for society. It was basically talking about the prisoner and the allegory for society. Essentially, it's like it's the battle of self versus the battle of the system. And do you willingly give yourself over to the system, or does the system just exist simply because the system is supposed to exist and just tell people what to do, rather than being a system that works to endeavor the people to become better than themselves. And so our main character, prisoner number 6, they are forcing him. It's not about him being number 6. It's about the fact that he won't accept that he's number 6. Right? There's a difference, and sometimes, like, I'm going to call them bureaucracies, but really, technically, it goes beyond bureaucracy when it becomes a you need to do the thing or else, and we hate governments that do that. But sometimes there are people who have great ideas, and they're like, listen, if we all just get together and sweep up the trash in our streets, we can make our neighborhood better. And someone very nice will say, hey, everybody, let's get together and sweep up our street. And then there's a bunch of people, you can't tell me what to do, and I ain't doing that, and blah, blah, blah. And then a person goes, well, if you don't sweep up the street, you better, or else we're gonna fine you $500. You don't come outside and sweep up your street. And then it's like, well, why am I being punished? I should have the freedom to sweep my street or not. And then over time, it has nothing to do with the sweeping the street. It's about who has control in a moment of control. Right? Does the individual have ultimate control, or does the governmental agency that's working for everyone have ultimate control? And then we come to, well, what if you tell me to do things? What if you give me an order to do a thing and it goes against my ethics or morality? And does the system say, well, we don't care about your ethics and morality because you don't even know why we're asking you to do it. You just do it because you are a cog in the system. I get treated like that as a letter carrier. So many people were just like, they'll ask me questions about a thing that I have zero, like there's no physical way I would ever in the course of life know the answer to it. I, I get asked so many times, hey, if I mail a letter, how long will it take to get to Colorado or Alaska or Amsterdam? And I'm just like, I don't know. Like how would I actually know that? Like, and even if I could find that information, your specific letter, there's so many variables in the way of that. Like, it goes through so many hands, it goes through so many machines and processes. Like, I don't know. I'm a small cog in a big machine, and I tell people that all the time. Like, listen, I do the best job I can with the tools given to me, and I will take your package and letter and ensure that it gets put into the system. After that, you hope that every person along the way does their thing in the same manner and integrity that I do. But it's also 600, 700, 800,000 individuals. You're going to get some assholes in there, right? You know, Drew says control is an illusion. The most that is possible is discipline. Yeah. Deadman says space above and beyond had the chiggers as the hostile aliens named after the bugs because their armor looked like the bug. Yep. Isn't that also a oh, there's a plant that has these very sharp spines on it. I swear images. There's a bug. Yeah, there they. Yep, bugs. They attach. Yep, they're super tiny, and they bite hard and they attach like ticks. Ooh, that's nasty. I'm gonna share this out to you guys. Maybe. Okay, no, that's pretty nasty. That's maybe not. Um, lastly, here we go. It said, would be nice to do a series of sci-fi books too for ideas like one I liked was Cobra, Computer Offensive Bodily Reflex Armament. I don't remember that. Is that a book? I don't know if we could do a book club, but I would love to. From experience, I've found nearly all priority mail sent from Dallas to Tulsa or reverse, if mailed early in the day, will be there by the next day, or you're going from one airport to another that U.S. mail uses. Yep. Yeah, it depends on where you're at, right? Like it's like I mailman, how long is it going to take? Is this going to get there by? I don't know. I couldn't tell you whether something gets on a truck or a plane. And here's the other thing. Here in the States, people fail to realize that like FedEx and UPS and DHL and these other places use the postal service on the regular. They actually will take their package, throw it into a postal package, mail it, rip it out of the postal package, pull their package out of it, and then deliver it on the other end. So yeah. Drew says book club sounds good. Then I have finally a reason to treat myself to Hyperion. That is a deep series. Oh, we'd have to do a week of Hyperion. You know what? That actually sounds like a good idea. Even especially for people who have never read the Hyperion series. Do yourself a favor. Books. Do yourself a favor. The Hyperion and Endymion series by Dan Simmons is top notch. It is. There's a reason. There's an absolute reason why these books are. Let me share this out. There's a reason why these books are so well loved, and there's this. What's the way to describe this? There is a classicism to the sci-fi series that has not really been seen before, done in such a good way. Mike Marion says, I read the first Hyperion book, couldn't stand it, but I'm definitely in the minority. Okay, you listen. I don't. Before we get out of here, one warning to everyone: don't make your identity wrapped around the things that you like or don't like. Too often times where we have people who wrap their identities around the mass media that they like so much that they actually want to have death threats against other people. I'm looking at you, people who didn't like the young lady that played Rose in the uh, Rise of Skywalker movie. All she did was read words that were written for her and wear a costume that was given to her and be a character that was written for her. It's so death threats. People are dumbasses. TA's talking about the series by Timothy Zahn. I don't. The Cobra. I'm gonna have to look that up. I don't. Why don't I remember that? And I thought I knew Timothy Zahn books. It is not. Is that not based on striker birds and how they um parasiticize other organisms to lay their eggs in them or some such? I don't remember. Talk about chigs. Anyway, yeah, Mike said I couldn't stand the book. You're all right to be there. I'm gonna put that back up here. You're all right to be in the minority about the book series. I personally enjoyed it, but I had a psychological challenge for reading books that were like well past 600, 700, 800 pages. I was just like 1,200 pages. I'm gonna read this damn thing, mother. Yeah, I'm gonna read you mother book. I was a big like War and Peace. Like I'm gonna get through you. I never finished it. But yeah, I was one of those people that's like War and Peace. F you, big ass book. I'm doing like calisthenics in the background and stretching and like, we're gonna stretch this back out. I'm gonna read you. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for being part of the show. Yeah, television shows. Let me like for example, let's let me share this out before we get out of here. Here's some thumbnails that that are in the works, and I haven't put them up yet, and I will show them to you. There's a whole bunch of these, whole bunch of where's my, why isn't it showing? There it is. Bunch of thumbnails. We got Fringe in here to the very, to your next to my head. Debris, of course. One of these. Let me get rid of this one. That ends up happening a lot. I make mistakes. 4400 is a television show that's really good. Ascension. It was only 3 episodes. I believe 3 episodes. Ascension. What a weird ending for Ascension, but a great concept. The Event, you can't even see the movie plus television thing that written in there, but it doesn't matter. The Event was a funny television show. Even the name was a little bit like back before clickbait was a clickbait. A television show called The Event was trying to be a very much a water cooler show. It was all right. It was. We got Pretender. I don't know if any of you guys remember The Phoenix. I want you guys to look that up. The Phoenix television show. And mind you, we're not just going to talk about The Phoenix, but all the shows similar to it. The humanoid alien special snowflake that wanders the earth kind of thing. And the Pretender show. There's a bunch of shows like The Pretender, like John Doe and Johnny XY, something like. Anyway, we got Earth Final Conflict, Andromeda. So Quantum Leap, Almost Human, Blind Spot, Dark Matter. Dude, I don't know why the hell I watched all these ton of shows, but yeah. So, and then we're going to put in a bunch of the ones that we have in here and just mix them up. Ever read Atlas Shrugs? Oh, TA says Quinn's Ideas does a lot of videos on Hyperion, but nowhere near as many vids as he has done on Dune. Yeah, I love Quinn's Ideas and his rendition. I wish he went a little deeper into Hyperion, but he did do a Hyperion thing. And yes, I swear, Hyperion Shrug. I mean Hyperion. Jeez, Atlas Shrugged. The Ayn Rand books. Dead Man's Ascension was 4 episodes. I had to pull that out of my ass. I knew it was very short. I studied them in school. I never read them like read straight through from one end to the other. We kind of broke them up in the chunks and things like that. We did it in school. Today you couldn't get away with that, but at the time I was in like a pre-college class, and we did Ayn Rand in comparison to a bunch of other books. Atlas Shrugged, 1984, and a bunch of other books, like 4 or 5 other books I can't think of. It's been 30 plus years, so yeah. Drew says, I have read through the entire Bible. I like big books and I cannot lie. You know what? I tried to do that. I got about 25 to 30% through it, through literally reading the Bible from page 1 on through. Yeah, thank you, dear Dead Man. Yep, 4 episodes. Still waiting on the discussion of Resident Alien. Yeah, yeah, I'm gonna do that one too. Yeah, Resident Alien. Well, technically, Resident Alien is gonna come up in the Phoenix show, because it's not really about Phoenix. It's about the trope of the special one that has come to Earth to be shown what humanity is. There's a trope about that. Ayn Rand, I will not touch those with a 10-foot pole. But that is a truism, though. The Atlas Shrugged. I think it's hers. I think it, or it's about her. Anyway, I don't think. Shit. What's yeah, Atlas Shrugged, novel by Ayn Rand. Yeah, superiority and Ubermensching kind of stuff. Yeah, I have only watched a few episodes of The Pretender. I have the whole series. I got it on DVD. I'm one of those people. It's long. Yeah, coincidentally, the Phoenix feels like it had a lot of influence on that Immortal and Invisible War RPG you spoke about. Yeah, I'm gonna pull that out too. Ayn Rand books are a bit too Mary Sue. Yep, with herself inserted as the heroine. The probability broche is far more of an actual story that the writer did not do anything to do self-insert into. Yeah, very much so. Listen, today people are so triggered by things that to even consider a thing is considered a triggerable offense, which is pretty ridiculous, right? It's almost like listening to flat earthers makes you a flat earther, and that's ridiculous. Right? It's listening to flat earthers to find out how ridiculous they are. That, you know what I mean? But yeah. Yep, gonna do it. I went too late. I was going to go get the book, and I'm just going to extend it too much. I don't want to do that. So, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. We are not doing a book club on Atlas Shrugged. F that. Yeah, we're not doing that. Too often people put themselves into positions of like Atlas Shrugged in the books about that, about like Uber, what would you call it? Like hyper capitalism and things like that. Everybody likes to make themselves the hero. Nobody wants to think of themselves as the villain. Yeah, says I was just wondering about DBJ when he said he used to like long books. Atlas Shrugged seems like a classic book that's too long for everybody, including me. Yeah. I didn't say I liked it. I said I studied it. it was part. Yeah. In the probability broach, the alternate reality has no George Washington, as they hung him for shaking people down for taxes, and Congress only met like 8 times in 200 years, and each time someone got shot. Oh, the probability broach. Okay. Yeah, everybody complains about taxes, till their toilets back up, and there's no and food isn't pure enough to eat, so that you're not, and they're stuffing dead animal carcasses into mattresses and selling them, which is why you have that tag that says "Do not remove under penalty of law" and things like that. There's a reason. Taxes have a reason. It's not taxes. It's what people do with them. But that's just my opinion. But yeah, it has nothing to do with being taxed. It's about it's hey, everybody, put $5 in. We're going to buy pizza, and then when the pizza arrives, you're like, hey, listen, I'm gonna need $2 extra because it costs me a little bit more money to buy the pizza. And you go, I don't like that, but I'll give more $2. And then you have a slice of pizza and say, hold on, everybody. Everybody has to give me $10. You're like, well, I just gave you $17. Yeah. But I was the one that went to get the pizza. I feel like I deserve a little bit more, so I need $10 from everybody. And then someone says, well, I'm not giving you $10. And someone snatches the pizza out their hand. So never mind then. And then you get in this whole thing. and it's like more and more and more. And now you owe me $30. Well, fine. If they're not going to pay, all of you need to owe me $12. And you're like, well, why should I pay for that person? And blah, blah. And that's how taxes get out of hand. But sometimes we just want to eat pizza. Guys, have a great one. Thank you very much. Please, please, please create. Don't destroy, whether in your life, your creative endeavors, your tabletop community. Very easy to tear down a thing, to destroy it, to say that a thing doesn't matter in life. But far better to create to something in parallel to the thing, or make up something on your own, and just embrace the idea that the thing exists with you side by side with it. So, guys, have a great one. I'll see you. Yeah, yep, absolutely. And that's how the pizza wars started. Yeah. Thanks, M Square, too. Thank you very, very much. Heart. Will it show up? Yay, the heart showed up. Yeah. That's how the pizza wars started. Yeah. Corruption. A taxless society means a government with no power to attract those seeking a chance to enact corruption. Well, that's true, too. That's true. Hey, no money means no corruption. So maybe one day we'll come up with a fictional government that operates on something other than money. I like, how does a government have power without money? Something to think about, guys. Again, let's do the damn thing. Let's be creative. Let's not be destructive. Guys, have a great one. I'll see you later. Peace and tranquility.